technology that is built for your every sense. Acer Pure from Acer.
So after the US President Donald Trump had his meeting, the high-stakes meeting with the Russian President Vladimir Putin in Alaska, and that ended without any concrete deal really, the Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelenskyy is now all set to meet President Trump in the United States capital. The focus is of course going to be on finding a path to end more than the 3-year-long war in Ukraine. But joining Zelenskyy this time for this crucial dialogue are top European leaders and the NATO officials. Now, we all remember what happened in the previous meeting of the US President with Vladimir Zelenskyy, a complete meltdown that was witnessed at the Oval Office. This time around, though, there are going to be leaders of the European nations as well as the NATO officials who are going to be accompanying Zelenskyy, underscoring the global importance of the talks and the united front that is being presented in the face of the continued Russian aggression. So let's get you what's expected from the meeting and who all are really going to be accompanying Zelenskyy. Now remember, this is also a big message that has come in from Europe, that we are with Ukraine, because this comes immediately after the meeting that the US President had with Putin. Now who is going to be accompanying Vladimir Zelenskyy? The French President Emmanuel Macron is going to be in attendance. Remember, he has been the most vocal in extending support to Ukraine. Apart from that, the UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer is also going to be in this meeting. The Italian Prime Minister is also going to be in the meeting. But you're going to see leaders from European nations, the entire European Union, the top leaders are going to be in the United States, including the German Chancellor, the Finnish President, as well as the NATO Secretary General. All will be a part of the meeting. In fact, the European Commission President will also be in attendance in this meeting. So this is going to be very, very significant, so much so that, remember, the US President Donald Trump has also taken to social media to say that this is for the very first time that we're seeing leaders, so many of them from the European nations, coming to the United States for this historic meeting. Our senior consulting editor, Srinjoy Chaudhary, is joining us on the broadcast with the details of what's expected. And Srinjoy, there's a lot really hinging on this meeting. It comes immediately after the meeting with Putin. Previously, the Oval Office meeting was one for the books, something that people will always remember. But today, it's going to be a lot different. Take us through the significance of it and why there is so much weighing on this meeting that's expected to take place shortly.
The previous meeting that Trump and Zelenskyy had in the Oval Office was a disaster. So about that, there is no doubt. Now this one, when you have the leaders from Britain, France, Germany, Italy, Finland, NATO, European Union, all of that put together, then it's an important political force. So this is something Trump has to face, that look, all of Europe is here supporting Zelenskyy. Now the only problem here, while it's a very commendable thing on the part of Europe, one really would want to know whose idea it was that all these leaders go across along with Zelenskyy. The one point that must be mentioned is that so far this fighting has been going on largely with American help. At least 50% of the financial support and the weapons that have been provided have come from the Americans. Now, this is because European expenditure on defense, whether it's French, German, British, has been very low. Now, as a result, they have failed to provide Zelenskyy with the weapons he needs. If you remember, there was a time when America said, okay, enough is enough, we are not going to give any more weapons to Ukraine. That was a time Europe could not do very much because they don't have. It's only now that they are deciding that, yes, we are going to spend 3, 4, 5% of our GDP on defense. In the past, that rarely, if ever, happened. It's only recently, a year ago, that Poland decided we will spend 4% on defense. So if the Europeans were as prepared as they want to be, then there would be less dependency on America, less dependency on Trump. It is only recently, after Trump became president, that a European leader had said, we do not want to depend on the voter choices in Michigan and Pennsylvania for the security of Europe. Now that realization has happened, and it's part of this realization that you have leaders from Britain, France, Germany, Italy, Finland coming to the White House.
Yes, all the leaders are going to be in the White House. There's going to be a big meeting, also an indication that the European Union or the Europe is backing Ukraine completely. But ahead of this crucial meeting, it's also Trump's latest message that seemed to have put Zelensky under the bus, because Trump has said that Zelensky could end the war with Russia almost immediately. So putting the onus entirely on Zelensky, going on to say that if he wants, that he can end the war almost immediately. So he has placed the onus squarely on Kyiv. He also referenced the 2014 Crimea annexation under the Obama administration and echoed Kremlin demands by insisting that there's no going back on Crimea and no NATO membership for Ukraine. Now, United States has also made its message clear. Peace comes with concessions, hinting that it's Ukraine that must decide how much land it is willing to give up. In fact, Trump has effectively thrown Zelensky under the bus, signaling a U.S. position that may tilt the scales toward Russia. In fact, we have more breaking updates coming in. Now, Zelensky is in Washington. All eyes are going to be on the meeting between President Trump and Zelensky. Now, Zelensky hopes for lasting peace. He has gone on to say that it is Russia that started this war. So talks about joint strength with the United States, saying we must force Russia into real peace. Now look at the complete contrast. On one hand, you have the US President Donald Trump, hours before the meeting, putting the onus entirely on Zelensky, saying if Zelensky wants, the war can end. So he seems to be suggesting that it is Ukraine that is ensuring that the war goes on. But look at the complete contrast with what Zelensky has said. He is in Washington currently, and before the meeting he goes on to say, I've already arrived in Washington. I'm meeting with the President Trump. Tomorrow we are also speaking with European leaders. I'm grateful to the President of the United States. Now this is in slight reference also, remember, to what happened in the White House, where there was a complete meltdown with the Vice President even going on to ask Zelensky, have you said thank you even once? So his tweet really beginning with the thank you. He says, I'm grateful to the President of the United States for the invitation. We all share a strong desire to end this war quickly and reliably, and peace must be lasting. Not like it was years ago when Ukraine was forced to give up Crimea and part of our east, part of Donbass, and Putin simply used it as a springboard for a new attack. Or when Ukraine was given so-called security guarantees in 1994, but they didn't work. He goes on to say, of course, Crimea should not have been given up then, just as Ukrainians did not give up Kyiv, Odessa or Kharkiv after 2022. Ukrainians are fighting for their land, for their independence, and now our soldiers have successes in Donetsk and Sumy regions. I'm confident that we will defend Ukraine effectively, guarantee security in America and every partner and ally for their support. So he has said again, yet again, he has said, I'm grateful to the President Trump and everyone in America, every partner and ally for their support. So this is the message that has come in from Zelensky. Shrindar continues to stay live with us. Before that, we have breaking updates now coming in. Times Now has in fact accessed the full schedule of the high-stakes White House Roundtable tonight. At 9:30 p.m. IST, European Union leaders will be arriving at the White House. It's a big meeting today. It's not just Zelensky, all European bigwigs are going to be there. So the meeting starts at 9:30 p.m. So tonight at 9:30, and an hour later at 10:30 p.m., President Trump will formally welcome the Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky. That will then be followed by a one-on-one bilateral meeting between the two leaders at 10:45 p.m. And then at 11:45, the President is set to greet the European leaders with formal photo ops scheduled for midnight. The evening will then conclude with a multilateral meeting at 12:30 a.m. Indian time, where President Trump President Zelensky and the EU leaders will come together for key discussions on Ukraine's security and the path to peace. So, Srinjoy, the path to peace, at what cost is it going to come? Because there's a complete contrast, as we've just put out in the messages that have come in from Trump, who has put the onus completely on Ukraine, versus Ukraine that says that Russia must be forced to end this war.
President Trump is one of the most unpredictable world leaders you would have ever seen. Right, so we don't know which Trump will come to the negotiating table when he meets President Zelensky and other European leaders. Now this time, let's not forget there will be additional pressure from all of Europe and also NATO, because here President Trump will have to face his closest allies, the British, the French, the Germans, the Italians, the Finns, all of them are there. And as a result, he is looking at about 300 million people. He leads 300 million people. Plus, if you add up the populations of 5 or 6 countries here, we get very close to 300 million people. Plus, you have Ukraine. So, as a result, he faces an equivalent challenge. And here are leaders. Keir Starmer, you can't dispute the fact that he can speak adequately as far as English is concerned. He is from England, so there is no problem like Zelensky had with English. And then there will be interpreters this time, you would imagine, with the French, with the Germans, with the Italians, with the Finns. So as a result, there will be no problem with communication, and these are leaders with great stature. You can't ask them, why haven't you worn a suit today? So as a result, the important issues will be discussed. And there are really 2 issues that has to be, 3 at the most, that have to be discussed. 1, ceasefire. 2, the future of land. Crimea, Luhansk, Donetsk. And 3, whether there will be security guarantees, whether EU will accept Ukraine as part of the European Union, and whether NATO would consider Ukraine as a member. Now, these are things that have to be ironed out. Who will give the security guarantees? Will America say that, okay, we found a solution? We will not have Ukraine as part of NATO, but America will give security guarantees. Can that happen? Or will these European countries say, okay, even if they are not part of NATO, Ukraine is not part of NATO, we stand up and give security guarantees? Because there is history behind it. Everyone remembers Czechoslovakia in 1938.
Okay, all right, Srinjoy, thank you for joining us with those details. A lot expected in the coming few hours. Any statements that come in from either the US President or Zelensky or anything that comes in from Russia is also going to be very, very significant. It is at 9:30 p.m. tonight when the meeting will be taking place between the 2 leaders. And on a lighter note, of course, we don't know if Zelensky is going to be wearing a suit. One of the issues that the US President had also spoken about extensively during his previous meeting. All European leaders are going to be attending with Zelensky, so a lot expected, and we're keeping a track of that. Quick break now. We'll be right back. Stay with us.